whatever happens, it's purely just from lack of communication. Like somebody might have had an injury and they're like trying to kayfabe it or something, or not. If you have an injury, then you have to go to the trainers, and then you're probably going to be taken off the show. So they're trying to hide something. So if they're supposed to do a particular lift for the day, then they're going to kind of like hide, in the corner and do something completely different. Whereas if they would have just talked to me first, then I know what to work around. But when you're hiding something, and that's the big reason why I do like a full body warm up every day. I don't have them just go through the motions of doing like some shitty jumping jacks and shitty this or that, right? You have to show me some effort when we're doing like, some couple of easy stretches, shoulder, hip, and ankle mobility, and I'm watching everyone's face and I'm seeing how they respond. Now, we're doing a shoulder mobility drill, and I see your face looks like you're being stabbed in the neck. I know there's a problem. But then you got a guy that has like good experience. So, an obvious one would be like Enzo Amore. He trained with Joe DeFranco for several years before he came in with to the PC. Joe DeFranco was Triple H's personal trainer. Joe's a brilliant guy, amazing strength coach. Enzo trained with him for a couple of years, but he's a guy who just doesn't listen very well. He has some decent athletic ability. He played college football and all that. But he's very hard to coach, not just in the gym, but in the ring as well. Talking with his other coaches in the ring, I don't care who it was. He's worked with all the coaches because he was there for 3-4 years or whatever. Norman Smiley, all of them. Bill DeMott, everyone. I had to work with. It's like, man, this guy he can be a real pain in the ass. Sometimes he can be awesome. Other times he can be a pain in the ass. But I'll tell you what, I rarely meet anyone who's never a pain in the ass, but he's just one of the guys who I train at DeFranco's, I know everything. Okay, I do a lot of things very similar, very much the same as what DeFranco does, but some things might be a little bit different. And just because you did it one way there, I'm asking you to do it this way here right now for a certain reason, And if I'm asking you to do something for a certain reason, I want to see you do it this way because I'm trying to, build up to something else, It's just like a story, a program. I'm not having you do something just randomly, and I'd say a lot of guys would kind of do that, almost just like some random shit, Sometimes you want to do a new exercise that you saw on YouTube or something like that, but it might not fit into the program at all. For me, I kind of look at it like it's like an ingredient list, a recipe. If you're trying to build the perfect program, it's kind of like building the perfect chocolate cake or something. I love chocolate cake, and there's certain ingredients that go well, but you might love raisins and cayenne pepper and hot sauce. Who doesn't love hot wings or something like that? Doesn't mean you put that shit in your chocolate cake recipe just because you love it. It might fit somewhere else, and for a different reason, but it doesn't fit into this. And it's one of those things. It's like, I've done this before, and technique might be absolute shit just because growing up, sometimes. And I know this for a fact, if you try and coach somebody and try and help somebody and try and fix them and tell them what to do 10, 12 times, and they don't listen, they don't fix it, or they only fix it while you're right in front of their face, and as soon as you're not looking at them, they do whatever the hell they want to do anyway. They just go, I'm just going to do it my way. Even if it's absolutely terrible technique, it's just what they're comfortable doing, So that was one instance, where you're just constantly like fighting this uphill battle. Just do what I asked you to do. Please do what I asked you to do. Charlotte was another one. Charlotte wasn't necessarily a pain in the ass, but because she was such a good athlete, Charlotte was not just the best female athlete, but she's one of the best athletes there. She can do her flips and all that stuff. Sometimes you'd want something specific from her, and she would just not be in the mood, and she would just kind of like do her own thing. It's like, all right, whatever. But what was I going to do with Charlotte? Like, it's like she was already as good of an athlete as she ever needs to be. She's very lean, talented, and all that stuff. So sometimes you just have to know what battles to pick. The bigger issue was if you let one person slide, no matter how good or bad they are, if you let one person slide, then other people start to slide, you know what I mean? And they start, well, you let so-and-so do this or so-and-so, and then everyone, you give somebody an inch, they want to take a mile. So even though I knew one thing wouldn't be that big, if you let one thing go, then you really start to lose the grasp, and it kind of snowballs after that. But no, don't get me wrong, I love Charlotte to death, but just because, she is so good, she can get away with doing a lot of things, her way.
And it's kind of funny that Enzo Amore, his his catchphrase is, "You can't teach that." So that's kind of funny, as far as you're concerned.
Yeah. It is what it is. Everyone that knows Enzo, it's he's a hell of a character. He's a good guy. He just can be a pain in the ass to work with at times. Not all the time. No, not all the time, but sometimes. It is one of those things.
Now, when you have an issue, or not really an issue per se with Enzo, but when there's a problem with somebody, whether it be Enzo or even Charlotte to a smaller degree, is that something you bring up the ladder to a Triple H, or is it just something you keep internally?
Well, I don't just go texting Triple H on, hey, so and so's not doing his push-ups. I would have to deal with it. All the coaches, they have a weekly meeting, and if it's something that can wait to the weekly meeting, you might want to bring it up, So now all the coaches know, and they're on the same page. Anything that's going on in the ring, and what's going on in the gym, and what's going on in the physical therapy room, and what's going on behind the scenes with Ryan Katz doing their promos and everything. And when Dusty was there, we'd all get together, for a weekly meeting, and everyone shares everything about everybody. If any issues that have come up, you go into your weekly reports. So if it's an issue that I can't handle myself, yes, you bring it up. I brought it up to my boss, whether it was Bill DeMott or Matt Bloom. Share it with their other coaches so they know to address it. And that way everyone's just on the same page. You know what's going on. And, like I said, it was never a main thing I wanted to drop kick his face or anything like that. But sometimes, and you got to realize, anytime you're in a position like that, look what these guys are doing. They're being told what to do constantly. So I can't really blame them. I started calling him Sinatra towards the end. Once he went up, I was just calling him Sinatra because he did it his way. A lot of shit they did was just fucking wrong. It was wrong, blatantly wrong. Listening to other coaches, whether it was his selling or this or that. But look at him now. So he did it his way. He's up there. He's making good money, and he's got a hell of a life. He's just laughing up and having a great time. So kudos to him, man. He was one of these guys that was able to kind of get away with doing things his way, and it paid off for him. Somebody else may have gotten fired. Who knows? But for me, yeah, it's and like I was saying, I'm not trying to pick on him. You just asked for one instance, so that was one of the ones that sticks out to me. But it's not like I ever got in a fight with anybody or a major heated argument. It was just just talking there's a reason why I'm asking you to do this. And, everything I do, no matter what it is, from the warm-ups to the workouts, everything, there's always a reason why. I can always, no matter what exercise, I have a reason why, something that we're trying to accomplish with it. And not everyone did the same workouts every day. I change things up based on someone's current, goals or abilities and whatever's happening in their personal life at the time. All those things come into play, what their current stresses are, who's on the road, who's not, who's working all 3 live events that weekend, who's not. So I would adjust the intensity and all that stuff. And with all those kind of adjustments, not everyone doing the same thing, it's really hard to kind of track everybody all the time. And some people might try and take advantage of that. They're supposed to have a harder week and someone else doing an easier week. They'll try and, next thing you know, you see someone, doing 3-4 easy weeks in a row. And it's why haven't you been making any progress? So it's really hard to, stay on top of everything if you're individualizing it. That's why when you're doing group training like that, having everyone do the same thing and you adjust the intensity with the group. The problem is everyone's at a different level. They're all at a different time in their training, and some people on the road, some aren't. Some are brand new. Some people's ring, you have 4 or 5 different ring classes, and every one of those classes are doing something different every day, every week. Some people have different days off in the ring. They might be off in the ring on Tuesday. Somebody else is off in the ring on Wednesday or Thursday or Monday, whatever, and they have their skull sessions. So if you have an intense day in the gym and one guy has his day off in the ring and the other guy has his hardest day in the ring, it's really hard to have them both do the same gym workout. Let's say it's a leg day, we're squatting and all that stuff. So you're making constant adjustments, and I can see how the frustration comes into play. And some things seem like it's not fair because the schedules get kind of wonky a little bit. One class might be in the ring, for example, 9 to 12, they're in the ring, and then they're expected to be in the gym at 12:45. It's only a 45-minute break. You're tired. Your food might not even have gotten digested yet. So you go for 3 hours, and then another class might be the exact opposite. They might be 8 to 11 in the ring, and then they don't even get into the gym until 3 o'clock. So they've got like a 4-hour break. How's one class get a 4-hour break? The other class gets 45 minutes, and then everyone has their own personal life going on. Who knows what stresses between, they want to get on the road, they want to make more money, they got all these, goals and dreams that they're trying to do. So there's a stress for that. Who knows what's going on with their personal life with their, girlfriend or boyfriend? Who knows what's happening with their mom and their grandmom and their granddad back home? Maybe somebody died and they didn't say anything. So people have a bad day, and you just, there's no way to know. You try to do the best you can to communicate with everybody, but there's so much going on behind the scenes besides bench pressing and squatting and push-ups and pull-ups and all that jazz. It's real people that you're dealing with. So if you have a bad day with somebody, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or they're a chronic problem. It just means it's an issue that hopefully you can work out, and it's a one-time thing or an occasional thing and not a chronic issue. I didn't have anyone, including Enzo, never a chronic thing. It's just something here and there. And if you can't, work that out as men, as adults, what's the deal? Talk to me. Let's see what's up. It's communication business, man. It's so much more than the X's and O's. You got to dig a little bit deeper into the relationships and find out what's really going on with people. And if you can't get emotionally invested in people, you're never really going to get the best out of them. On one hand, you want to stay emotionally detached because you never know what's going to happen with this person. Maybe they might get fired in a week and you never want to see them again. Who knows, So on the other hand, maybe you'd be best friends and they go up and everyone lives happily ever after, all that jazz. So it's really hard because when you're with someone 3 hours a day, every single day, whatever it is, how do you not get emotionally attached to them? You know what I mean? I don't care if it's just at work, a normal desk job. If you have somebody right next to you all the time, for years, most of these guys I've known, for the entire 3 years I was there, that's 20 hours a week hanging out with the same people. Plus, it's hard. It's hard. So I've never had one good friend in my life that I didn't get in some kind of altercation with. You know what I mean? So it's a very emotional business. It's hard. It's very, very stressful, physically, emotionally, everything. So every once in a while you're gonna have to raise your voice. You're gonna have to yell a little bit. Have to put people in line. I'm gonna have to get myself put in line. I've definitely been yelled at by my bosses a few times. I was far from perfect. I know that.
And with you saying that obviously there's a lot of success stories also. Like you said, the life of a wrestler. I mean, it can be very, very tough and very stressful at times. But, we talked to Enzo a little bit, but on the other side of the spectrum, obviously you've had many success stories. Can you kind of just maybe name a wrestler or two, maybe like a surprise that we wouldn't really think of as being, the most coachable guy, but in your kind of experience with them, they were more than coachable and you were kind of surprised by it?
Well, man, there's a bunch of them. You've got Wesley Blake is a guy that he's going to do anything that's asked of him. He's an up and comer. I think he's going to make a big splash real soon. He's busting his ass and doing everything. Chad Gable is as coachable as you can get. He's a very humble guy with all his success before wrestling. He he just comes in, he trains his butt off, and he's going to do anything you ask of him. Sasha was one that I had a really hard time with at first, but then as she got closer to going up, she became much, much more open-minded and happy to work. But you got to remember, I think she was 21 when I first got there, and she didn't give a damn about doing a squat or a bench press or push-up or anything like that. She just wanted to wrestle. She loved wrestling. So it was kind of like pulling teeth. But then as time went on, a year or two later, of her and I butting heads, then, it was an absolute pleasure to work with her. When she did that photo shoot, she did the cover for the Muscle and Fitness Hers magazine. She contacted me. She was already out. I wasn't seeing her. She was on the road already, I believe. And she came back. She said, "Hey, can you help me out with this?" So we had about 6 to 8 weeks or so that we, I helped her with a program. She'd come in when she could, but she was on the road most of the time. And she did everything I asked of her. She kept her log. I was seeing what she was eating and how she was training, and she was tracking everything, and it worked out really good. I thought her photo shoot came out beautifully. Most of the guys are awesome. Dylan Miley's a guy who's just like a freak. he comes from an awesome gym back in Denver, Arm Boost Pro Gym or something like that. And he's way bigger than me, way stronger than me, but he still like always listens and wants to learn. He's always asking. Mojo's a guy who's going to do anything you ask of him. He works extremely hard, but then trying to get him to follow a long-term plan, he's just way too. He is real. Like his character, Mojo Rawley, that's him. He's so ADD. Like his brain just looks like a million beehives, just all like crashed into each other, and all those billions of bees are just going nuts. Like that's what's going on in his head right now, every second of every day. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't rest. He's just constantly going and trying to work with somebody like that who's always trying to do something different. And holy shit, it's frustrating as hell, but I would rather have his energy and happiness. He's always smiling and laughing and busting his ass. I'll take that over, somebody who's like completely, unemotional and, they'll do what you ask them, but there's no energy into it. Energy is going to be more than anything else. Give me your energy, your attitude, your charisma. Mojo has all that, and that's why he's up on the road now.
Hey, you were down there, and you're seeing a lot of these guys come up, and whether it be the younger talent that came all the way up through NXT, or maybe somebody rehabbing injury, stuff like that. Did you get some satisfaction seeing them make it up to that main roster as they kind of traveled through you and headed up to the big time WWE?
Of course I do. I mean, I had my own little, asshole character. I did Downey Blackheart was my gimmick name. Downey Blackheart is just like this douchebag asshole, like he doesn't care. But it was, it's just like a fun little gimmick thing. But of course, I want to see them all go. That's the whole point of being there is sharing your knowledge with all these guys and girls coming through. And when they make it, it's a huge celebration. And it's always good. That's one of the best feelings when someone gets called up and they make that announcement, at an NXT, taping or something like that down at Full Sail University, and everyone just, it's like a roar. It's like, you finally won. That's that big Super Bowl, or the first time they come back to the PC after a week or two of being on the road, and they make that first trip back to come and train and say hi to everybody, and everyone just like stops training. There's a big standing ovation. Everyone comes running, gives you a big hug and all that. It's awesome. It's exactly what we're trying to do there. We're not trying to make anyone fail. We're trying to make every single person succeed. And when they succeed, you succeed. That is, all the coaches, they all felt the same way. There's never a bit of jealousy. They might think that one guy should have made it, and not so sure why somebody else did. But that's not our responsibility. That's Hunter and everyone else that brings them up. And if there's a better story for, one guy over another, even though, this guy, Wrestler X, he might work a little harder, he might have a little bit more talent, but he doesn't fit into any stories. Wrestler Y, maybe he doesn't work as hard, maybe he doesn't deserve as much, but his character just fits perfectly, then they're going to bring him up. So there might be like a touch of animosity there, like so-and-so, has been here longer, works harder, he's stronger, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it's just not about that. Sometimes it's about where does this person fit in, Yeah, it is what it is. We had a guy that in his first 500 days of being at the PC. Think about this. How many companies would this work for? In his first 500 days of being at the PC, he missed 350 days of work from being sick, injured, et cetera, whatever it is. How many times could you miss 350 out of 500 days and not only not get fired, but get promoted? There's certain things that you can't teach when you're, you have certain physical attributes. That's just how it goes. So a lot of people think, okay, this isn't fair. But again, that's not my responsibility to worry about what's fair and what's not. Hey, get the guys up, hope everybody makes money, and build your relationships along the way.